Hi friends, I hope that you are having a wonderful day today. My name is Luciano, and I make videos on the internet. A lot of my videos are about jump chains and choose your own adventures, but not all of them are. That said, today's video is going to be about jump chains and jump documents. We are going to be taking a look at the generic gamer jump, which is one of my favorite jumps ever. But before we went over there, I did want to mention for anyone who is following me over on YouTube and is not following me over on Reddit, which is where I do a lot of my jump chain things that are not videos. I do have a long history of writing reviews and assessments of different jump documents and what they give you, taking a look at items and perks and sometimes even scenarios and other stuff. And I have a super post on my Reddit that contains links to all of my reviews. Some of the things that I have reviewed are not safe for work, but there is no actual not safe for work content in my review. It is just me talking about the thing. I am going to go ahead and show you all this before we move over to the generic gamer jump documents. The reason I'm doing that is so that you could see the hilarious amount of stuff that I have done reviews on. It is almost 60 different written reviews just because I really like jump chains. Not all of my videos are going to be about jump chains, and I do plan to try and strike more of a balance between talking about jump chains and talking about my other things that I really like. I really enjoyed last week's video on atheism, and I do plan to try and continue to have friendly, conversational, introductory videos to a range of topics. But that said, we are going to go ahead and move on over to the generic gamer jump document so we can talk about it right now. Generic Gamer is a jump by Low Owl. This is version 1.2, which to the best of my knowledge is the latest version. It's certainly the latest version that I've ever seen. It is a really fantastic and comically powerful jump because it gives jumpers a very enhanced ability to scale as they continue their chains. It is not just something that gives you perks that are just, oh, this is what the perk does, and it can never grow, it can never scale. Everything here is capable of growth, partially because one of the things that you get for free by visiting this jump is an uncapper. This is also a jump that I have previously mentioned in my video on items and jump chains. I specifically mentioned that it was the only jump that I have seen that I can remember that doesn't have an item section that is accurate. This is going to be the beginning of a two-parter. In this particular video, I am going to talk about the perks, and I'm going to mention a handful of other things that are important to note with this jump, because this jump is also one of the safest first jumps that I've ever seen, which is very fun. Let's go ahead and start to talk about the analysis of it. So, before we go anywhere else, I normally don't talk about these sorts of challenges that you might face in a jump extensively when I'm talking about a jump review. I typically talk about these sorts of things that you get to keep with you moving forward on your chain. I am going to make an exception to that for this particular video and this particular assessment, just because the generic gamer jump is a jump that can send you anywhere, essentially. You decide very much the rules of where it is that you are going and the sorts of setting that you're going to be going to with two different sections. First is the difficulty section, which determines how tough the world around you is. You can get points for this. And then there is the actual setting toggle. The setting toggle lets you determine what sort of world you want to go to. If you want to go to a completely mundane world where there is probably no magic, the easiest way to do this is going to be to go to the easy difficulty, which does not give you points, and then also selecting the modern world. That means that you will be probably, if not the only person with magic, one of an extremely limited number of people with supernatural abilities. Now, there are drawbacks that change this a little, as like most jumps, this section does have a drawback section. This jump actually has two different drawbacks, and there is a gimmick in one of the sections that makes it so that the drawbacks are chain long, which means they affect you for the rest of your chain. Lots of people will choose to ignore that. I choose to ignore that whenever I see it, especially because even in the particular jump document, it says that you can ignore it if you want, and most people do not like chain drawbacks. But if you do like chain drawbacks, that's definitely something that is of note and something that you should take into account because this one has them. Those particular things affect the system that you get, and they will affect you, but they will not affect you quite as fully as the regular drawbacks here would. So now we're going to go ahead and actually take a look at the perks. One very interesting thing of note with this particular jump is that this is one of the oldest no origin jumps that I think I've ever seen. There is essentially one origin in this jump, and it is that you are a game. Now, these perks are not actually super directly relevant to the gamer system that you end up getting. These are perks that affect you. And theoretically, even if you were to somehow shut off your gamer system or to lose access to it, you would still have some level of access to the benefits given by these perks. Partially because this is a no origin jump, the discount tree here is a little bit weird and it's very important to take note of it. The way that this works is you get 4 100 points perks for free, and then you can discount / pay half price for 3 200 point ones, 2 400 point ones, and then 1 600 point one, with 600 representing the capstone level of perks for this half of the jump document. So we're going to go ahead. We are going to just sort of speed run through these perks. I'll talk about the ones that are more important / that are more handy when I get to them. The 100 tier perks are all little head starts that are varying levels of powerful. Brute strength is a handy perk that does give you Superman-style tactile telekinesis, which allows you to ignore physical laws when it comes to things that you are holding and lifting, and also allows you to do stuff like catch people falling from great heights without any harm happening to you or them, and also buffs your strength. The more important parts of that are the first things that I mentioned. Being very strong is always handy and convenient, but the real power here is that your strength is more conceptual than just, oh, I am strong and punch hard. Lightning quick makes you very dexterous, and also makes you very fast. The deftness and dexterousness is the more important part of that, although being very fast is also very handy. Tough as nails is one of the first more important ones that you can get in the 100 point section, just because this is a very powerful sort of endurance. You're not just good at getting punched in the face or someone trying to pew pew you. You are tough in a lot of different ways. You are resilient, you are able to get your energy back with more ease, all that kind of stuff. Beautiful Mind makes you more intelligent, and Well of Wisdom makes you wiser. The distinction here is that with Beautiful Mind, you are essentially able to learn things more easily, you're able to remember things more easily, and with Well of Wisdom, you are naturally more understanding, you're more aware, your intuition is sharper. Well of Wisdom is probably the more important perk in the long term, but if this is your first jump and Generic Gamer is a fantastic first jump, then having Beautiful Mind and getting the benefits of that right away is something that is incredibly handy. Silver Tongue is a charisma perk. One of the fun things about this is that it makes you one of the best looking people in the world and makes that sort of attractiveness expand to all of the senses, not just people who are able to see you. This also makes you very good at dealing with people and understanding how people interact with each other, as well as understanding people more broadly. The Devil's Own Luck is a comprehensive luck booster. It is more important when it comes to lowering your well of bad luck than when it comes to increasing your well of good luck, but lowering your level of bad luck makes it so that you have less bad days and random chance is less likely to mess you up, but it also does increase the sort of good luck that some people rely on. Super sensory is a really fun one. It makes it so that your senses are all incredibly sharp, and with the right sorts of perks, this can become very fun. This can become a sort of super sensory omni-sense ability that allows you to just gain an astounding level of awareness of your surroundings at all times. It is very easy to underrate this one, but I think that with the right perks and the right combinations, this can be an incredibly standout ability, especially because it is not difficult to get super strength and a whole bunch of other super stuff in jumps. Getting super senses is actually not super common, so it's kind of fun to be able to have that. Fonts of Magic is a very weird perk. Fonts of Magic does not make you better at casting spells, but it is otherwise a fully comprehensive quality of life magical buff perk. It makes it so that you have more magical energy. It makes it so that you regain magical energy faster. It makes it so that your magical intuition is sharper and it's safer. And beyond that, you are naturally resilient to enemy magic based on how much of your own reserves you have. So if you are full up on your magical energy, if you have all of your spell slots, if your pool of magical power, whether it's mana or chakra or anything like that, any kind of supernatural resource like that, all of that stuff enhances your durability to enemy supernatural techniques, which can be really cool. I think that this is a fantastic perk that is really easy to underrate, but getting the ability to even partially resist enemy stuff is always going to be really good. The 200 point perks in this particular jump document are all about party roles and division of labor. The first one is tank, which makes it so that you are very similar to a video game style tank in a party, allowing you to take the focus and brunt of enemy efforts to deal harm far more easily. Just overall makes it so that you are better at taking hits and also better at redirecting them, as well as getting and keeping enemy attention. DPS is a very handy perk. This is something that makes you better at dealing damage. It makes you better at fighting your foes and actually stopping them as opposed to just taking what they do. And some of the more important bits are at the very end here. This little bit that I just highlighted allows your attacks to always at least somewhat ignore defenses. This will mean that your attacks are more effective in general, but more importantly, it allows you to ignore things like enemy resistances and invulnerabilities and immunities, which can be very important in a chain as you go to weirder places with stranger enemies. With this, you can punch a ghost in the face and it'll be at least somewhat effective, and you can also set fire to something that is made of fire and that will hurt it somehow. This is one of the cases where fiat gets a little bit silly, but overall, this is a very important perk for a lot of adventure style jumpers and is something that makes life overall just easier. Support is, in my opinion, one of the more important perks in this section. There is a lot to know here. This perk very powerfully gives you some advantages when it comes to being on the battlefield. It allows you to weaken all of your enemies in every respect and everything that they do, so long as they are within 100 meters of you, which is, I would hope that I don't need to explain how important that is, but essentially it makes it so that they have to work just a little bit harder to get to where they're going and to do what they need to do, and it has the opposite effect on your allies. It makes everything they do just a little bit better, which is really good. And also, it makes it so that if you buff one of your friends who is in the range of your aura and your other friends are in the range of the aura, that makes it so that the buff applies to all of them. I am not super sure if this applies to healing effects specifically, but I do know that if you are a D&D style wizard and you have something equivalent to haste, a spell that is incredibly powerful and essentially doubles what the the person it is cast on can do in a given period of time, you can apply it to all of your allies, which can be obviously extremely powerful. Healer is another one of the perks here that is just incredibly strong. It makes it so that you have encyclopedic knowledge of all existing illnesses and how to cure them, as well, even ones that are magical or psychological in nature, though obviously if something is psychological in nature, it'll be more about treatment than actually just curing the illness. It also gives you the ability to sort of diagnostically scan people around you, allowing you to figure out who is injured and how, and allows you to know how difficult it would be for you to treat them. There's also a few other little bits here that are really, really powerful. You have a passive aura that stops wounds from getting worse. What this means is that if you came across someone who was stabbed and you didn't want them to die, the aura would affect them, and while they are in your area, their wounds wouldn't worsen. So if they were stabbed and they were bleeding out, they wouldn't die from blood loss just because they had already survived and they were in your aura, although obviously how this works could get a little silly with some more extreme injuries. This does not stop someone from re-injuring them, and it doesn't stop them from injuring themselves worse if they get up and are acting around, but at the very least they won't die due to blood loss, which can already be incredibly painful. Beyond that, debuffs that affect you, such as poisoning, paralysis, and other stuff like that, are only going to last a tenth as long as they should before they naturally run out, and your efforts at healing and restoring other people, both mundane and supernatural, are wildly more effective, costing only a third in time, effort, and resources of any kind. Essentially, this makes it so that all of your supernatural abilities that heal people are 3 times as strong. Obviously, that's not exactly what it says, but that's definitely how it's going to be used by some people. The face makes it so that you are very good at persuading people of your causes and your goals. It allows you to understand what arguments would work best when trying to convince someone of a certain position, and even allows you to figure out if someone is persuadable at all. Essentially, if someone can be persuaded to take a position, you understand how to do it. Now, this has an extreme synergy with Silver Tongue, the perk that we saw earlier, but it's also just overall a really good skill to have. Rogue makes it so that you are extremely good at sneakery and things like that, making it so that you're very good lockpick, as well as a better sneak and a better pickpocket. Just really, really good when it comes to stealth-related things. A very handy perk if you want to go for the stealth archer build. So the Jack of all trades perk, which is the final perk in this particular section, is for most jumpers probably going to be the most important perk in this particular slate of perks, at least at this price tier. It is very good at allowing you to be better at handling things by yourself. If you don't want to have to team up with other people, this is one of the perks that you need to be able to do that. And also, the way that this works is very important. You get a buff to everything where the average is better than you are at something. So if you are a normal person and you go to a jump where everyone is super strong, your strength gets buffed. The thing that's important to note about this is that it includes true outliers. Normally perks like this will either not explicitly say that they include true outliers or will discount true outliers completely. This does not do that, which makes this extremely powerful. With this, if you go to a setting like DC or Marvel and you're a normal person, essentially everything about you is going to get a major buff, making it very handy. We are now in the 400 point tier, and these perks are essentially modifiers that have very fascinating effects. Experience Booster is possibly one of the more handy perks here, although all of these perks are very good at what they do, and it makes it so that you learn and train 100 times more effectively than you otherwise would, which obviously is going to be an extremely handy ability. This essentially makes it so that if you train for 1 minute, you get the benefits of training for over an hour and a half. And that is so ridiculously silly and strong that I don't even need to continue to explain it. So we're just going to go ahead and move on. Progressing difficulty is, in my opinion, the most important perk in this particular section. This makes it so that so long as you are not looking for a challenge, so long as you are just trying to survive, you will never face something that is a sort of unimaginably stronger threat than you completely randomly. There are ways to turn this off, and if you go looking for danger, it will essentially shut off, but this does make it far more likely for you to not perish over the course of a normal jump if you have it. Extremely important perk if you like to go to very dangerous settings. Take your time makes it so that time is just looser for you. You don't have to worry about deadlines or time limits. This is a perk that for a lot of people is going to be extremely important. It is one of the ones that I definitely recommend always taking, especially if your jumper likes to balance things and likes to have both adventures and a regular life. Just a very fun way of handling a lot of different things. Walkthrough is a perk that I have very strong feelings about, and they're not particularly good. I can see the utility and power of this perk. I think that if you are the sort of person who likes these kinds of perks, this is one of the most OP ones you could get, and I think that for that reason it's really good. But essentially this gives you a comprehensive mental guide to every jump that you go, including this one. It's like if you had a Prima strategy guide for the rest of your chain, just sort of forced into your brain. And there are people who are going to really like that, and there are people who are going to really not like it. I'm one of the people who really doesn't like it, but I do think it's very powerful, and I think that if your jumper is the sort of person who likes these kinds of cheats, absolutely fantastic perk. Min-max makes it so that you understand how to optimize all of your stuff. Really handy perk if you are a jumper who likes big numbers go burr. Honestly, this whole jump is filled with fantastic perks if your jumper likes big number go burr and thinks like that. But the way that this works is this allows you to understand how to best train your stuff, how to create the strongest build, all of that kind of stuff. And it's not just limited to you. It's very expansive. It's from creating systems of government, creating organizations, designing items. Everything that this could apply to, this applies to, which can be really neat if your jumper likes to train themselves or likes to train others. I think that there's just a lot of really good ways to use this particular perk. It's dangerous to go alone is a fun perk for jumpers who do not like going it solo. A lot of my jumpers do like to do it alone and do like to adventure more or less by themselves, so they don't have to worry about hiding their abilities or having to explain their abilities. But if your jumper is social in the sense that they like adventuring and forming close parties and having camaraderie, all that kind of stuff, It's Dangerous to Go Alone is fantastic because it means that you'll always be able to find someone somehow who is able to contribute meaningfully. It's also really good if you do like to party occasionally and you don't want to worry about how fast you could grow outpacing your allies. So honestly, It's Dangerous to Go Alone is just a pretty good general perk to have. We are now going to go ahead and take a look at the capstones. We are now in the gamer system customization section that I talked about. We are not going to be focused on this for super long. I just wanted to go ahead and highlight the uncapper. We'll talk about it in detail when we actually get to it, but essentially what this means is that there's no hard limits. If there is, and there probably is, a theoretical maximum strength for human beings, you can ignore that. If there is a theoretical maximum speed for humans, you can ignore that. If there is an amount of intelligence that the brain should not be able to have, and any more of it would just somehow bust the brain, you can ignore it. Now, it doesn't mean that you are lifted to that level. It does mean that you have to work to it to get to it. But just because you reach that level doesn't mean that you are actually going to be capped there. You are able to keep going and to keep doing super cool stuff all of that kind of stuff. It just makes it so that there's no limits, no arbitrary hard limit that you cannot supersede. Now, as I've already shown, there are perks in this particular jump that do make training a lot easier, and they're definitely worth keeping in mind. So we're going to go ahead and start to close out the video, but I do hope that you've enjoyed this initial look at the generic gamer jump. The next video that we do in this little bit, which may or may not be tomorrow, I'm not sure right now, is going to be talking about the gamer system and is going to be talking about the things that it offers, because the gamer system is every bit as important as the actual perks in this jump. It's just that the perks in this jump are very, very, very handy. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I've definitely enjoyed chatting with you all, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.